This receipt was exactly around the time that Sammy called Greg and told him that she was getting an Uber. And this Uber driver had a charcoal gray 2011 Dodge Charger. So as the concern increased, Greg and Sammy's friends went out and continued to search for her. They went back to Montgomery Avenue and there was still no sign of Sammy. They looked in the grass for her phone and really just for any sign that would indicate that she ever was on Montgomery Avenue that night. But instead, they found nothing. They drove to 5 Points and they went to a bar called Breakers. They hadn't gone to Breakers the previous night, but the bar sat on the corner of the street and it had a lot of cameras and had a really good view of the main area of 5 Points. So they were hoping that the cameras would have provided information on where Sammy went that night. But they got nothing. So then they walked to Bird Dog and they asked to see the security footage from the previous evening. In the footage, the street just outside of Bird Dog could be seen. There were a lot of people outside walking and chatting on the sidewalk in this footage. But in the corner of the camera view, there was Sammy in her bright orange top, getting into a black Chevy Impala around 2:09 a.m. Now clearly, that was a very different car than the Dodge Charger that she was supposed to be getting in that ultimately sent that cancellation request. Her friends had never seen this car before, but they were determined to find it, and they started scouring the area for black Chevy Impalas. And then they went back to Montgomery Avenue, and they started knocking on doors, asking if anybody in the area had seen Sammy. Really kind of conducting their own investigation, while the police were of course conducting theirs. They bounced back and forth between these areas all day, frantically searching for their friend Sammy. Now, as I said, meanwhile, the police had began their own search for Sammy. But they were really having a hard time finding any sort of leads because Sammy's phone was completely turned off at that point, and the police had no way of tracking her. The police went back to the 5 Points area and asked to see more security footage from different businesses in the area. They just wanted to catch something that would give them a better idea of where Sammy went that night or who was actually driving the vehicle that she got into. The additional security camera footage that they obtained showed Sammy waiting outside and talking to Greg on the phone, then waiting by the curb and stepping into a silver car that she thought was her Uber before that car ended up driving away. She hung up the phone and then went back to that curb to wait. The footage also showed a black Chevy Impala lurking around in the area, driving up and down the parking lot before doing a U-turn and heading straight for Sammy as she stepped near the curb to wait for her Uber. The driver of the Impala pulled into the handicap spot next to Sammy, and she quickly opened the back door. She got in the car, and the car drove off, going the opposite direction of her apartment. And then finally, it was picked up on camera one last time around 1.5 miles away. So the police put out a BOLO, which stands for Be on the Lookout. They put this BOLO out for any Chevy Impala. This let law enforcement in the area know that they were to pull over any cars that matched this vehicle's description. So 14 hours after Sammy had gone missing,